As the ball drops on 2022, we like to take this time to reflect on the mistakes and the wins we had last year.
This past year had a lot of challenges and a lot of successes. Dan, can you kind of go through them for us?
21 states, over 13,000 miles. National parks, 0. 6 tires, 19 campgrounds, 31 days mooch stalking. Mistakes, many. 3 big wins.
Well, we definitely had a lot of challenges, but we also had a lot of successes, and we want to really talk about what we learned.
You know, at the top of the show, I talked about how we take time to reflect. And I want to explain that a little teensy bit here. It's, you know, this time between Christmas and New Year's, not a lot's going on. It's almost like, you know, vacation time during that time. And what I started doing after a seminar maybe 20 years ago was to really take that time and talk about the things that have happened, both good and bad, in the last year. So as we move forward, we can either try to not make those same mistakes that we made, or try to repeat the successes that we've had.
Either way, it's about learning from what's happened in the year before.
And you know, this is a time that we really sit down and talk about goals for next year. What do we, as individuals, as a couple, what do we want to accomplish next year?
Right.
What do we really want to do next year? And that's what's great about this time.
And for us, it's a lot about dreaming, like really thinking big, not just the, oh, we want, you know, more subscribers or whatever, but really dreaming about what 2023 could look like.
Right. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to tell a couple stories. We're going to kind of take you along with us as we talk about the process and tell you about the process. And then hopefully when we watch this back, we're going to figure out a little bit more about what 2023 looks like for us.
So now we're going to talk about starting this year. Didn't start off on the best of foots. It was definitely challenging.
It really was challenging, but you know, starting the year, I'm going to say this first story that we're going to talk about really is the old proverb of putting a carrot in front of somebody and letting them keep going. And it's probably, to me anyway, the most inspirational story that we have.
So it started out when Dan actually was in the hospital in November. Some of you know the story. He was very ill and he was in the ICU for 2 weeks, 2+ weeks. It was a bad situation and I could not go see him. So there I was alone in the RV for over 2 weeks, which you have a lot of time on your hands.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember any of it.
Right. So there wasn't even communication going on. And we were part of the RVLife Pro community, and I got a call about doing a speaking engagement in Seattle. Now, we were in Las Vegas at this point. So a speaking engagement in Seattle, which means driving the RV, how many thousands of miles?
Probably 1,000. 1,000
miles, okay, I'm not even sure. And it was a 10-day process. And I said, yeah, sure, we'll be there. I just was, we will figure it out, we'll make it work. It's about being, you know, having that positive mindset. Maybe I was a little crazy, I'm not sure.
Now, mind you, I'm in the ICU. I'm basically unconscious. And on the 3rd or 4th day, because I refused a ventilator, they put me on a DNR. So to set the stage, I'm on a do not resuscitate in the intensive care unit, and Patty's booking us to speak at the Seattle RV show.
Yes.
And I think that the moral to this story is that, you know, by having that carrot out there, when I did get out of the hospital and I started my rehab, and I knew that, you know, we had this goal in mind to get there, and not only, because I do all the driving, not only did I have to get back to 100%, but I had to get back to be able to drive the RV, to be able to do all the things, and to be able to stand on stage and speak. Now remember, when I got out of the hospital, I had a hard time speaking.
Walking.
And
was
walking, I was on a walker.
Right.
But you know, when you set a goal and you have that thing out in front of you, the carrot at the end of the stick, it actually works. It's a great thing.
And this is what I was talking about, dreaming big. So most people thinking about starting 2022 and saying, okay, yeah, we're going to be on stage and we're going to speak for 5 straight days. We're going to spend 10 days driving 1,000 miles. Most people think, oh, well, that can't be done. That's not realistic. We don't do realistic. We dream big, and we went with it, and it worked really well.
It worked really, really well for us. Now, let's move on. So that's kind of a bad that turned good story.
Right.
You know, difficult times, but it turned good. This next story is, let me ask you the question this way. Have you ever done something really stupid and now you can laugh about it, but at the time it just made you crazy?
I'm not sure I'm laughing about it yet. So we got stuck in the mud. Literally, the RV got stuck in the mud. Let's set the stage. We were staying on a farm at our good friend Cindy's house. We were mooch docking, which
Love
is the
mooch
greatest.
docking.
Love mooch docking. If you don't know what it is, find out. And we were basically on the grass. We thought it was kind of gravelly and hard grass, but we were in Pennsylvania and it rained for days straight. Anybody that's been in Pennsylvania during a rainy time, it was a mess. And the RV just started sinking more and more. So literally the tires were sunk.
So I know how to do this. I got this. And I am gonna slowly just bring this thing out. And what did I do? Those back wheels started spinning and it just dug us in a little bit deeper. I had an idea. We dug out those tires. We went and we bought not 10, 20, 30. We bought over 100 pounds of gravel and we built a ramp under the back tires. I'm gonna get out of this thing. Get it all set up. We push it there and it just sunk more. We just absolutely made the process worse. So we went from bad to worse because I said I could do it. And finally we realized, or she realized.
Now this was 3 days this went on. 3 days of backbreaking digging, boards, rock. It was, like my body really hurt. It was 3 days.
Yeah. But we actually had roadside assistance for the RV as part of our insurance policy. And guess what? The first truck they sent out, well, they sent out a little F-350 that had, you know, the normal tow truck type thing. And you can look at the video. We did do a video on this. And
Even
you can
I
see
knew that truck was not going to get the
it
RV
started
out.
burning up right away.
Yes.
But when they sent the right truck, a real tractor trailer tow truck, it was like butter. That thing just pulled us right out.
2 minutes. 2 minutes later, it was out. And I guess the crazy part of it was we do have insurance, and it is American Family Insurance. I want to mention that here because they were wonderful. I called them at night. I said, look, we're already ready to go to bed. And they were coming out first thing the next morning, which worked perfect. And we don't pay for towing. It's part of the package.
I know.
So we could have saved the money on the stone and the boards and our back-breaking work. And it just flowed out.
It just came out like butter.
So lesson learned.
Yeah, the moral to this story is, and I say male ego, but I really just mean ego of a human being. Guys, if you're lost, look at a map. You know,
Ask
if you're lost,
questions.
ask for questions, ask for directions, ask for help. It's not that difficult. That lesson that we learned has saved us so much time and money when that has come up time and time again.
And I just want to say, being an RVer, whether you do it part-time, full-time like we are, we're full-time for almost 2 years, or you just go on the weekends, it's part of having the community, having access to places where you could get answers. We have a Monaco, so the Facebook Monaco group. We're part of RVLife, and they have IRV2, a forum where you could get questions asked, answered. There are experts on there.
Yeah.
There are just people that have been through it. So being able to access information is very important.
And that's a really good segue right into our next big lesson that we have learned. And it sounds kind of silly, but building relationships. And the first and foremost relationship, I think, is our relationship with our RVLife. Because, we met Patrick from RVLife. We met him back at the Balloon Fiesta.
Over a year ago.
Almost a year and a half ago now.
Right.
And we just built that relationship over time. We have made more long-term friends and really strong relationships since we have left our home in Las Vegas and started RVing full-time than I think we did in the 10 years previous to that.
Yeah.
It's just really an important thing to not just build relationships with your next door neighbor, although we do that all the time now too, but building relationships, in our case, with business partners and different vendors and different, it's just really something that has changed the way that we approach life every day.
Right. And for me, and before we even started RVing, Dan and I had a business that was all over the world, and this was something I taught in building relationships with no real agenda, because you never know what will come up, what will happen when you're just really, truly, authentically building a relationship. Let's talk about right now, we are at National Indoor RV Center in DC, and this is their newest facility. We stopped over about a month ago,
Right.
And we talked to Marshall, and then we talked to Matt, who is the manager of this location. General manager of this location.
Marshall's the sales manager, every manager, just take care of everything.
Yes. Okay, so to be very specific, but again, we came in, we just made a connection. We actually sat here in this room for 2 hours just chatting all things RV and life and pursuit of happiness, you name it. And so I called Marshall and I said, hey, we need to create a video and we'd love a cool space to do it. This was Dan's idea. And he said, come in, whatever you need. Just sure, come in. And so here we are sitting here at National Indoor in the DC area. They do have 7 locations now throughout the country. Awesome company, amazing company.
It's about the people, it's about the concept.
Yes.
The concept here is just incredible, and we can talk more about that later. I don't really want to do a commercial, but the point here is building the relationship.
Yes.
So not only do we just build a relationship, we came in, and the reason that we came in is because National Indoor was discussing at the time becoming a sponsor of our brand new podcast. And they have since then become an anchor sponsor. So they have signed up for the entire year without even seeing any numbers, without even looking at anything. They signed up from day one of our podcast, and we're just so grateful for that. But we met Marshall, and that led us to Brett, the owner, and to Chuck, the VP. It's like now, not only have we made this relationship here, but we're going to go down to the Tampa RV show, and we're going to do our podcast live from the AIM. Now, AIM is, do you remember what that means? Don't remember.
All-inclusive motorhomes.
All-inclusive motorhomes. So that's their group. It's a users group or a owners group. They travel, they do events. So we're going to go to a rally of theirs before the Tampa event. Then at the Tampa event, they have a huge tent. They're going to do dinners every night. We're going to give some seminars during the day while we're there. And we're going to do from their tent, we're going to do the RVLife podcast every single day. Live. Every single day from the Tampa RV Super Show.
And
go ahead.
I was going to say, in talking about making connections, if you're going to be in Tampa, let us know in the comments. Come see us. If you see us, come say hi. The the live podcast will be at 1 o'clock. It's all about making connections. So we love people connecting with us as well.
So we will be doing that live, and you're welcome to come in and watch as we do it. We have some great guests lined up. Matt from Matt's RVs. He's going to be there on Sunday with us.
Brett, the owner of National Indoor.
We have the owner of RVLife. Andy's going to be there.
He's going to be there.
So we have some great, interesting interviews that we're going to do live from the Jayco. So we're the executive vice president of Jayco, and he's going to talk about all kinds of stuff in this new center that they opened, this new inspection center that they opened up. Just some great stuff. But again, the moral to what we're talking about is making connections, and then things build off those connections. So many times we see on social media and even at events and places that we go, somebody's got something to sell. They say, hi, I'm Dan, would you buy my? That's not creating a relationship. We let sales go when we're at those kind of events. And who are you? Let's talk about who you are. And I think that changing our approach and that attitude has been very, very successful for us over time.
Absolutely, and that is a big thing that we've learned over the years. And looking back at the past year, the people that we've connected with and touched us and that are part of our lives, they're lifelong friends, and the things you learn from them and the things you call them and you talk about, that is probably the greatest thing of 2022.
That, what you just said, is really great, because not only making friends and making connections and learning from them. And we started our podcast in December, the first week in December this year, and one of our first guests was the Status Crows.
Michelle and Chuck.
Oh my gosh.
If you have not met these people, I got to interrupt. If you have not met these people, you've got to meet them. Go on social media, connect with them. They are I feel like she's a sister. I truly feel like she's somebody I've known forever. Chuck's a little more quiet. He's a great guy, but the connection was immediate. I wish they were going to be in Tampa so we could hang out. I'm hoping we'll be in the same place at the same time and hang out. You've got to go meet them. So I had to get that in there because they're amazing.
They really are amazing. Now, we met them again 2 years ago at the Albuquerque Balloon Fiesta in October 2 years ago. So we met them there, stayed in touch a little bit, not really, but we met them and started a relationship. They were then asked by RVLife to be on the RVLife podcast and be guests, and they actually sang a song with us.
Beautiful.
But something that really, really stayed with me and kind of reminded me of the way of thinking, because sometimes you get caught up in the everyday, I gotta go here, I gotta go here, I gotta go here, I gotta do this. And I asked Chuck a question in the podcast, and his answer, well, you know what, instead of just talking about it, let me just take 30 seconds and play that little interchange between Patty and I and Chuck
and Michelle.
And it's just incredible.
Let me put you on the spot. If you could tell yourself your number one tip from your experience over the last 5 years, what would you tell yourself on the very first day you started?
Wow.
He really put you on the spot.
Yeah, you really did. Okay, you got one? Okay.
I got one. For me, it would be take your time.
Yeah.
Take your time to get there.
2022 also brought a $1,000 mistake.
Oh my. This mistake was one that, let me ask this question. Yeah, we tried. Let me ask this question. And it's really not a question because I know the answer. Have you ever gone to YouTube to look at how to do something on your RV or RV related products? Have you ever used YouTube as your source?
A research tool.
Well, we did just that when we bought a used Jeep as our tow vehicle. And we did do a video. I'm gonna put a link to it right up here. There'll be a link down below as well. And it's a really short video. I think it's only a 3 or 4 minute video. But what we did is we went on YouTube to figure out how or what the settings were for a tow of a Jeep.
2007 Jeep tow. How do you do that right?
And the first two videos that we looked at, or I looked at, said that there is no locking mechanism on the Jeep, that all you do is, A, B, and C, and we went through the process and we followed the directions perfectly. And that is until we pulled into the Oaks in South Carolina.
It wasn't good.
It really wasn't good.
So bottom line, the wheel did lock up, which meant the tires were not moving.
Well, they were moving, they were just a little off. They weren't rolling down the street straight, they were rolling just a little bit cocked to one side.
Bottom line, we were dragging it, and the tread on the tire, I've never seen that part of a tire before. It's metal under that rubber. Didn't know, never bothered, but we wore out all 4 tires. So our
the
big
steel belts were...
Steel belts, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Our $1,000 mistake. Now the thing that got me through, because it's frustrating. We get, when you have an RV and a car and that's your home, there are a lot of things sometimes that go wrong, and they seem to go wrong all at the same time. And there have been times I say, I'm just going to give up. The thing that helped get me through was that I felt like we kind of needed new tires anyway.
We did. When we bought the vehicle, we said one of the things we were going to do is get new tires.
Yeah, so maybe it was the universe saying, now's the time. And while we can laugh about it now, these things can be challenging. And when I look back at mistakes that we've made, what have we learned from it? But also the fact that, when you're driving around in an RV, when you're traveling, living in it, there's stuff that's going to happen. But it's sort of the same as when we own a house and the heat goes in the middle of the winter, the air conditioner in the middle of the summer. It's kind of that same thing. And that's where reflecting on the past and looking at the amazing things that we've done outweighs even the $1,000 mistake.
And sometimes it feels like there's always something going wrong on the RV. There's always something to do. It always needs to be in a place like this in a service facility. But, I think back to the 55 years of my life that I owned homes and lived in homes. Well, guess what? I don't think there was ever one day, not one day, that I sat down in the chair of my living room and said, you know what? My house is perfect. Everything is done. There is not a project to do in this. I don't think that ever happened.
No, probably not. And in the homes that I've owned, it's the same thing. But again, as we reflect, it's looking at, would we stop doing this lifestyle? Because that wasn't the only thing. I mean, as Dan quickly said in the beginning, we've had to buy 6 new tires in this past year. But certainly even those things outweigh the amazing experiences that we've had. And that's going to lead me into our biggest success of the year, and that is our podcast. So I just want to go back for those of you who don't know Dan and I, and give a little bit of background. 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago now, we decided to sell everything, buy an RV, and travel the country. And in that conversation, this was at the time Dan's crazy idea, because I laughed when he said, let's just sell everything, buy an RV, and travel. Now, I had never traveled really in an RV, so it sounded like a crazy idea. But when I started to think, okay, our mission has been for 12 years to inspire others to fully live life. That is a mission.
Right.
We've been around the world speaking about it, whatever we can do to get that out there to people. So my question was not where do you park the RV, but how do we accomplish that mission? How do we continue that? And having a YouTube channel was a natural progression. Dan being in the entertainment industry, a producer, a director, an Academy nominated documentary creator, whatever you call it. So this is
director, producer.
Okay, it's all we need. But this is his industry, and doing video was just a great segue for us. And when we started talking about the podcast, it wasn't quite the right time. It was about a year or so ago. And then things just moved into place. And now we are almost 1 month into our podcast, and that's probably our greatest joy and the biggest
Yes.
success.
And it, you know, I've been wanting to do a podcast. I do have some background in radio.
I don't.
And she doesn't. but it just seemed like something that we should do with the YouTube channel. And I have been developing and working with Patty for a year and a half to start our podcast. And then, you know, one day we get a call and it's like, you know, we're interested in getting in a podcast. Would you guys be interested in talking about this? Oh my goodness. So here we are now. We are 30 days into the RVLife podcast. We have been blessed with the full support of RVLife in places like National Indoor RV Centers.
Very
I'm
good.
at that.
Yes.
National Indoor RV Centers, and we have a few other, you know, air skirts supported and became sponsors right away.
Clear 2.0, I got to
Clear 2.0, we
plug
have to
in
give
for
them. And I'll tell you what. We have done our research and we put it all together, and we are very grateful to you, the audience, that we have achieved a status very, very quickly that has changed everything for us. I mean, really, you know, the press release that went out right before Christmas said that in our first 30 days, we have achieved being in the top 10% of all podcasts worldwide from the numbers that we've achieved. And again, that is a part of what we're talking about right now, because last year we sat down and talked about what we wanted to accomplish this year, and I had very high on my list, like podcast, and started developing it for months and months and months. I'm talking about podcasts. She's like, what are you talking about? We don't have a podcast.
And that's where dreaming big, and I've got to say, we were able to look at the numbers. So if you go on podcasts, you can't really see the numbers the same way as YouTube. And the numbers help let us know if we're on the right track. Do we have to change things? Are people liking what we're doing? And looking at these numbers, I'm just humbled. I'm just in awe. Even though we dreamed of having a successful podcast, I didn't expect it. It's still like I'm dreaming. And that's the point. When you think of 2023, what are those dreams that maybe you don't think are quote unquote realistic?
Right.
Dream big.
And I think this goes back to our second or third story about relationships. You know, building that relationship, and then I use the term when I'm talking to Patty or I'm speaking of watering the seed and watching that seed grow. Well, relationships are the same way. You've got to put some effort and some work into those relationships to make them grow. Well, you know, this is growing for us, and we do hope that if you haven't heard the RVLife podcast, you head over to any podcast platform and take a listen to the podcast. We're very proud of what we're doing, and we have had the Status Quos. What incredible guests.
Yes. And Kyle and Renee, or Carl and Nene, you'll have to listen to find out what that's about.
They have split personality.
Yeah, they're from Happily Ever Hanks. They are a YouTube channel. There's a young couple that is so inspiring. They gave so many great tips, and we just love putting that kind of content out that helps our community.
Hey,
they're amazing.
You know, the one that came out this week, the one that came out right before the New Year. So we're recording this between Christmas and New Year's. Kimberly Crossland, right?
Let's get
about
Roadpreneur. I just want to make sure you could get to her.
We talked about setting goals, and we talked about New Year's resolutions, and we talked about how to keep them.
Yes, she's an expert. Now, she's been doing this for about 10 years. She's truly an expert. She gave so much great tips. If you use the tips that you heard on the podcast and just did those, you would have a better chance of achieving whatever you're looking to achieve this year. I've got to put a plug in for her. Just an amazing interview.
Amazing, and we've got some great ones coming up.
Yes.
You know, we've got a health coach. We've got somebody who has their master's in nursing and is going to talk about what you need in your RV? What is essential in that first aid kit that you have in
He's
your
got
RV?
his doctorate in nursing.
He's got his doctorate
He's
in
got
nursing.
so many letters after his name, but we're going to talk about that on the podcast. What I love is this is a real guy, Bob.
Yep.
Bob Batchelor is just amazing. And I said
Great
to him,
company,
yes,
you know,
yes.
Flying Angels is a
Flying
great company.
Angels is an amazing company that is good to know. Like we said, Dan got ill in December. Well, we're in Las Vegas. If I wanted to bring him to Philadelphia, I don't want to
Hey,
do that myself.
you're
I'm putting
giving
a
away the
plug in.
podcast.
I know. It's just so important that you
Yeah.
check him out.
Another one we have coming up in Lilo.
I said, what do people need in their RV as we travel around? Medical supplies. So he's going to do that on the
Right.
podcast. Lito, Lito, luxury in the outdoor.
Oh my God.
Amazing products for outdoor, literally luxury in the outdoor.
You know, she sent us 2 of those tablecloths, and that's probably their signature item is their tablecloth.
Yes.
And they have these straps that go underneath that hold it on the table so
Yes.
the wind doesn't blow it away.
But beautiful. It's not just your regular everyday prints. Beautiful. You'll have to check it
You'll
out.
have to check it out. And
Good.
we'll put a link to it down below.
Down
wherever
below.
people-
And a
But
discount.
I tell you what, just some incredible guests, and now we have guests coming to us and asking
Right.
to be on the show.
Right.
It's just so much fun.
The big thing is because we made these connections. So everybody on the
Right.
show, they're not paying us to be on the show. They're not giving us something so they could be on the show. It's because we created this relationship. These are real, authentic people. And that's just how we have chosen to, you know, do our, whether it's our YouTube channel or our podcast, people that are real,
Right.
amazing people.
So, you know, we've kind of taken a half hour of your time so far, and I just kind of want to sum up some of the things. Now, we reflected back on some of the good stuff that we've done and some of the stuff that cost us $1,000. But I think one of the big takeaways is sit down and look at the mistakes you've made and be honest with yourself.
Right. Don't beat
honest with
yourself
yourself.
up.
Don't, yeah. But look at the mistakes that you've made and learn from those mistakes so you don't make those mistakes again.
Yes, I think that some of the most valuable lessons, whether it's RVing or just in life, that I have learned have come from the mistakes that I've made. So if I can take a look at them without beating myself up, I really, you know, there's big lessons that, you know, have carried me through that I've learned. So that's a big one for us. But also, celebrating your successes. I think sometimes people kind of, oh, that's great. You know, the podcast, we're so excited and so really proud of ourselves and just amazed. It's celebrating that, and that's something we've had to learn over the years.
It's really easy to have a great success in life and just say, oh, that was a great day.
Yes.
Go to sleep. And I really think that it helps a human consciousness to take some time and celebrate that. Whether you do it with yourself or your spouse or your family or your kids or your mom or your dad, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
But take some time for yourself and celebrate those successes. It makes a difference. It changes your outlook for weeks and months to come.
And you know, it's funny because I've thought about this celebrating, and it's taken Dan and I some time to say, okay, we have to take time to celebrate. I think a lot of people think of celebrating with the champagne or drinking. We don't really drink that much. We're not against it, but we don't drink. So I'm trying to figure out what it is we do to celebrate our successes. And that's just something I've learned from 2022.
Now, something that we end almost, I change it every once in a while because I said like happy holidays on last week's, but we end every one of our YouTube videos with a message that says, enjoy the journey. Take Chuck's advice from the Status Crows. Take your time, slow down. What's the
Enjoy
term?
the journey.
Enjoy
Like,
the journey.
It's not about what's next, the destination. Be here and enjoy the process. I think some of the greatest things we've done and seen are between the point A and the point B, between
Yep.
you know, our start and our destination. So
Yep.
enjoy the journey.
So you know, take your time, smell the roses, whatever you want to call it. There's 100 euphemisms about it, but slow down and be present. don't have your face in the cell phone and be on Instagram and TikTok and all the things. Great, take some time to do that kind of stuff because it's a part of our lives today.
Right.
But be present with the people that are around you.
And I would love, one more thing, I would love as you're watching this video for you to share some of your dreams, maybe what you've learned from a mistake or what your successes are. Put it in the comments, share it with us. I read every comment and I comment back. So I'd love to hear what your plans are for 2023, what you've learned, something that you did as a success that you're celebrating. Let's do it together. And of course, subscribe.
Yeah, always subscribe. And what do they say? Smash the like button? Whatever that means.
The thumbs up is the like button. That's the new term, smash it.
Smash it. And finally, as we start to wrap this up, I think this might be one of the biggest things is dream. And don't just dream big. You know, remember at the start of this video, I'm a DNR in the ICU with, you know, the doctors weren't real likely positive about me even making it out of the hospital. And Patty's on the phone with RVLife booking us in, about 3 months to speak in Seattle in the winter.
Well, that's a whole nother
story driving.
Dream big.
But the point is dream big. You know, if you don't have a carrot out in front of you, then the likelihood of going out and getting that carrot is not as great as if that carrot's out there and you're looking at it every single day. So please don't be afraid to dream big.
Absolutely. And I want to close by thanking Marshall and Matt of National Indoor RV Center in the DC area for hosting us today and allowing us to be here and use this beautiful space. And if you're not familiar with NIRVC, wow, NIRVC, that's it, check them out.
You got to check them out. It's a whole different way to buy, to sell, to service. Even store. I mean, to store that. If you're a part-timer and you have an RV, and they kind of treat it like a marina. It's the greatest thing in the world. So we are at the DC area NIRVC. I am Dan Hunt with my incredible wife Patty Hunt, saying have a great rest of today
and an even better day tomorrow.